Good afternoon. My name is Ernesto, and I'm with Mr. Robert Mayberry. We're coming to you live from the city of Chicago. It's a beautiful day out here, and we're going to go ahead and have a discussion about the value that we create with some of our workshops. But they do provide a ton of value for people taking that next step into their retirement and hopefully making their golden years all the more golden. As I mentioned, I'm here with Mr. Bob Mayberry. Bob is a professional who's been in this industry for the last 50 years. So, Bob, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got in this industry.
Oh, gee, I was in the Air Force for 4 years, and at the end of that time, I came back to Illinois. And my brother-in-law was in the insurance business, and my wife wanted to babysit for her sister who was having trouble with the 5th pregnancy. So we actually ended up moving in with them. And so I talked to Jerry about helping me write a resume. I was an electronics technician, and I wanted to go in that field with Chicago area. And they wouldn't hire me because I didn't have a college education. And that made me kind of angry. I went back and talked to Jerry, and he said, well, why don't you go in the insurance business? So that's how I started, working for him while my wife babysat his sister. And 30 years later, I retired him and took over an agency he and I had built. So it's quite a run.
So you've been in the industry for over 50 years. What's changed about the financial planning process?
You know, not a lot has changed about the process. All the steps in financial planning are the same. We talked the thing that's changed so tremendously is technology.
Mm-hmm.
Technology is the biggest change I've seen.
So if all the steps are the same, why is all the emphasis on technology?
Oh my gosh. When we used to, you do a financial plan, and a lot of the number crunching is done behind the scenes, and we used to do that with adding machines and number 2 pencils.
Wow.
And, it's like when I ask you now, I say, Ernesto, can we do an income stream on this client? You wrap technology around all the things that I've got, and you wrap it all around in a bundle, and you do cost of living, you do inflation, you do interest setbacks, you do Social Security setbacks, all with technology, which we could never do. And so
maybe curious for our audience as well as, so what's the most important question that you answer for your clients?
It depends on the age of the client. Most of my clientele over the years has been over age 65, okay. 65 to 90 in that range. And most of my clients, I should say, are widows because the ladies outlive the men, and so their biggest question is, will their money last? They don't want to die poor, and so they don't want to run out of money.
What would you say is the biggest challenge that your clients face in terms of, is it to where to invest your money, and what would you recommend?
Well, that's not their biggest challenge. That's a matter of knowledge, I guess. The biggest challenge to my clients has always been the same. It's always been procrastination, in the best sense of the word. They're facing a big challenge with that they got to make decisions now. They're going to last the rest of their life with all the money that they've got, and when we're doing financial planning, we're not dealing with a paycheck anymore. We're dealing with all their life savings. So we've got to be very careful about what we do and what recommendations we give. And it's a big decision for them.
Sure.
So because of that, and they procrastinate. They never get started. You know, and once they get started and find out that the process is more conversation,
Yeah.
and blending of knowledge and ideas, it's not so bad. It doesn't hurt. We don't bite. We really don't.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that when we first sat down and started working together, I remember the first time you showed me how to do the family tree.
Yeah.
And that was interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me a little more about that concept and maybe what that's done.
It gives you a chance when you're building the family tree to get to know what's important to them, who's important to them. And it also gives you a chance to know whether or not they're inheriting money from the generation before them,
Mm-hmm.
or they leaving money to the generation behind them, or whether or not they have to take care of the generation before them for health reasons and take care of their parents or grandparents. So it gives you the total picture of the family unit,
Sure.
I think. And
Yeah.
we care about, it's more than just numbers.
Yeah. You've always said how important it is to have a clear and concise plan. And it's easy to build a 72-page document that no one can understand.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to set out goals, analysis solutions, income solutions, product analytics, application of tax laws. But how do you simplify all of that for people?
Well, I found when I first started doing financial planning that it was all numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew the numbers going in. You had to explain them to the people. A lot of times, like you say, you're talking to widows, you're confusing them. So we had to devise a plan to take all the complicated issues like you're talking about and try to simplify them so people would understand the plan. That's a concept that we use now. The concept of money bags was born because a client asked me to work with his mother-in-law, who was a recent widow, and her husband was an airline pilot. And I told him I could do that, and so we went over to see her. And she was an older woman, and she had a kitchen table full of mail, and about 6 weeks after her husband had died. And so we started through the mail and throw this one out, throw this, whoops, that's Social Security. So we put that on over here, and we're going through, oops, that's a company pension, stuff from the airlines, and then going through, oh, that's taxes on the house, that's insurance on the house, that's investments, that's investment money you got put there. Yeah, oops, there's your IRA documents. And so we ended up with 5 piles all the time. And we had these stuff laid there and put a tag on top of each pile. And I told her I'd come back and see her the following week, and we'd get started on sorting through the piles. And so I came in actually 2 weeks later, figuring that there'd be a big pile of mail waiting for us to go through, and there wasn't. Everything was just 5 piles that we had. The new piles mail was already distributed on those piles, and she even had questions about some of the things within the pile. And it dawned on me that if I could teach us about an 80-year-old woman how to sort out stuff like that and keep it all lined up, that I've got something that maybe we could use to explain to people. So I went home and I drew money bags for each of those things, and decided that that's the way I would talk to people, and that's how it started.
Okay. Okay. There's so many different companies out there with so many different products. How do you decide which one's the best one for a client?
You know, technology again comes into play. We are don't we're not controlled by any company. We're totally 100% independent, and we can get to all those companies. So we have them all on the computers, and we can take and sort them, mix them, and match them and their products, and pull out the one that's best for our clients, and we're not worried about which company it is.
Okay.
That's how we do it.
You do a lot of work with widows. If you don't mind me asking, why is that, Bob?
Well, I don't know if we had a meeting here today, I could guarantee you that 75% of the people sitting here would be women and 25% men, because the ladies live longer than the men. And in the financial planning, I ended up talking mostly to widows who'd already gone through age 65 sort of thing. And they have to live with the decisions that were made by their spouses, right or wrong. And a lot of times they were wrong. And so I helped widows out. I've helped them do a lot of things, including some of them didn't even know how to write checks, balance budgets, investments. You find a widow out there with everything in the stock market. I say, so how's it doing? What is it? She, with no knowledge, because my husband did it. And so you have to work very carefully with them. It's all the money they have. It's all the money they'll ever get, and it has to last as long as they do.
We continue our journey working with people in these workshops. We incorporate a lot of the processes that Bob's used over his time, helping out thousands of families, if that's not too aggressive of a number. So if you register for one of our workshops, we talk about a lot of interesting topics that are going to be important to you as you take that next step into your retirement. Once again, my name's Ernesto, and we thank Bob Mayberry for being here with us today in this beautiful city of Chicago. And we hope to see you at one of our workshops, one coming in near you. Thank you.
Thank you.